Hello, I'm Professor Lieu. Welcome to our live stream. Today we are doing a draw along focusing on soft pastel drawing. If you would like to grow as an artist and you can't afford an art class, we've got everything you need here at Art Prof: critiques, tutorials, and professional development. I would absolutely love it if you guys would draw along with me. You can use any media you want. And after the stream, we will be hanging out in the Art Prof Discord. And I love it when you guys post the work that you made during the live stream. We will be in the Art Alongs channel. I have 4 reference photos that you guys can see in the lower left-hand corner. I just posted 3 there, but I'm not so sure I'm going to get to the 4th one. If you guys want to download high-resolution images that are going to be so much better to work from as opposed to drawing straight off YouTube, go down to the video description below and you guys will see that we have a free reference photo collection that you guys can download photos for free. And we don't have just photos of dogs. We've got lots of other cool things there as well. If you guys would like to know what the art supplies are that I'm using today, you can go down to the YouTube video description below, and I also have links for those as well. I'm going to be using 2 different types of pastels today. So the first brand, which I'm pretty familiar with, is Rembrandt. These pastels are not cheap, and so if you're on a budget, I would actually recommend that you guys get New Pastel. They're quite different, but they're fairly affordable, all things considered. And this is a new brand for me that I've never used before. They're called Terry Ludwig Pastels. They're made in Colorado. And that's this box right here. And they're pretty significant. I mean, one thing that I do to, quote, test the quality of soft pastels is I see how much they weigh. So I just take the pastel and I just hold it, and I hold it up and down to feel it. And if you do the same thing with the Rembrandts, they do have a certain weight. For example, one brand that I don't like very much is Alpha Color. And if you do that weight test with Alpha Colors, they're like feathers. They don't weigh very much. So I do find, for me, I do enjoy the density of a pastel. Okay, I think what we need to do first, though, especially since I'm using a new brand that I've never used before, I'm just going to warm up a little bit, just make some marks, which honestly is not a bad idea, regardless of how much experience you have. Sometimes I just need to move. Like, a lot of people will say to me, well, I have a lot of trouble getting started. I don't know what to sketch. And I say, just put the pencil to the paper and see how that is. And then before you know it, an hour has passed by because you're drawing. These are pretty powdery. Let me just take the same color. Oh, wow, they're really different. I guess the difference is smoothness, because these seem to glide a lot more easily and way more powder. Does everybody see how much powder the Terry Ludwig ones are making? Actually, let me write down here which is which so you guys know. And let me zoom in so you guys can really see the difference a little bit better. Okay, so this one up here, this is the Terry Ludwig, and this is the Rembrandt. So already I can tell one of the big differences is just way less powder with the Rembrandt, which I don't think is hugely important, but it does get really messy after a while. And so, by the way, you guys, with soft pastels, don't blow the powdered pigment into the air. I mean, you're not inhaling cyanide or anything like that, but it's just a good idea not to do that. I do the same thing with charcoal. So what I usually do is I just pick up the paper and then I shake the paper into the wastebasket, and that's usually good enough. It's not a great idea to do it the other way. Okay, let me try the tip. Okay, this feels pretty smooth and pretty dense. Let me try the Terry Ludwig. Yeah, these are way more crumbly, and they do feel a little bit more porous. I feel like this, I don't know how they make pastels necessarily, what the machinery is involved, but these feel denser and harder. And I get the feeling right now that I like the Rembrandts better. I mean, that could be that I'm just more used to them. Let's see what they're like when I actually smudge them. Okay, so that smudges really easily. I think I like the Rembrandts better. I think the Rembrandt, the pigment seems more substantial. I was wondering if maybe the Rembrandts would be harder to smudge, but you see, they're not. They're actually just as easy to smudge. I don't have to change the pressure at all. Let me do a little bit more, because I spend a lot of time drawing with the side of the pastel. I don't spend a huge amount of time drawing with the tip. Let me try layering a little bit, because that's another thing I do a lot. So for example, I might do something like this, where I draw a color on top. These are really soft. I mean, these almost feel like butter, the way that they come down. Let me get a similar gray for the Rembrandt. Oh, these feel better. They just, I feel like I'm going across a piece of velvet. This is just coarser, the Terry Ludwig. I mean, they're still soft. I'm not saying that they're coarse. It's just compared to each other. Yeah. These are good. I mean, they're not problematic. Like, they're definitely different than New Pastel. Like, New Pastel is the cheaper brand that I mentioned earlier, and those are hard and coarse, but not in a great way. They're fine. I'm not saying that you can't use New Pastels. I'm just saying my personal preference would be the Rembrandts. Let's see what people are talking about in the chat. Lisa is asking, soft pastels look like chalk. Are they similar? I don't think so. Whenever I've used chalk, it doesn't have a lot of density to it, and they feel scratchy. They don't feel as buttery when you put them on the surface. Marika is saying, what kind of paper do we need for pastels, smooth or toothed? Toothed is a lot better, because if you have paper that's too smooth, same thing with charcoal, the powder, it just slides right off. For example, I would never use Bristol board with soft pastels. Much better to have it be toothed, because the tooth surface, in essence, it grips the powder. I'm just so in love with texture. So any textured surface to me is fabulous. There's different types. I mean, this paper that I'm using today, which is Canson, the texture is not as liney as, say, Strathmore makes pastel and charcoal paper, which has a very visible line to it. This looks more like crisscrossed lines. So it depends on what types of effects that you guys want. Gergana is saying, what is the difference between a pastel and crayon? The biggest difference is that crayon does not erase. Let me show you, actually. Look at that. I just happen to have some Caran d'Ache here. Of course, they're not open, so I have a utility knife to fix that. I think you guys, everybody should have a utility knife, a sharp one that's in reach. Don't you think? I love sharp knives. So let me just show you guys the difference here. All right, so these are the crayons. Now look at how much sharper this is, and no dust at all. So in terms of archivalness, the crayons are a lot better, because you just don't have to stress about that. And you can see the way they layer is quite different. They don't tend to be as opaque. And you can do all all kinds of cool things with these. Great question from Attagirl, who says, more powder, better or worse? It depends on the person. I personally don't like having a lot of powder because then it means I have to spend more time cleaning it off. And it does get messy, especially this dark green that I was using. That powder is pretty visible. I don't tend to like it so much. But the whole thing about a lot of these supplies, you guys, a lot of it is personal preference. People have asked me in the past, oh, which colored pencil do you like better? Which brand? And I say, well, it depends, because some people really like soft colored pencils. Some people like harder ones. I'm in between. I don't like the super hard ones, but I don't like, say, Prismacolor, which is really crumbly. But that is my personal preference. I mean, some people might really, really enjoy that. Gordy says, for me, the issue with soft pastel is the right paper. I rarely seem to find the right paper. Any advice? The more important thing is the tooth. And I really recommend, like I've talked about in other streams, use toned paper. I'm just using white right now because I'm doing a test. But this is a really nice pad because you can get pads. Actually, this is the one I'm using. Hang on, let me move this comment. So this is what I'm using. It's Canson Mi Tient, whatever, pastels. And it's nice because it comes in many different colors. So we have this bluish color, this gray, and this yellow ochre color. And it's really fun because depending on the type of color that you guys use, things can be very, very different. I love the color because the issue with white paper is you always end up with that weird white grain, which is a big pain to deal with. I mean, it's just really, really hard to get rid of it. But with this, it takes care of it for you. It's sort of like those of you guys who've seen me do work with oil pastels, having that black paper really makes a gigantic difference in terms of getting things to show a little bit better. Tiang is asking, what kind of tools can we use with oil pastel? Honestly, the only tool that I ever really use is sometimes my fingers get really dirty and gross and I don't want to get up and clean them. I'll use like a shop towel or a cotton rag to smudge. I do have a friend who buys those makeup sponges. You know what I'm talking about? Those really soft ones. I've never used those before, but they look like fun. That's it. I don't really do much more. I'm sure you can, but the issue with erasers and chalk pastels is that your erasers get so gross so fast, and I just have not found it helpful. Let's see. Fluffy White Owl says, do you use or recommend workable fixative while working? You can, but I personally really don't like fixative with soft pastels. I don't like it in general, but I feel that the difference that workable fixative makes on charcoal is not as dramatic. I feel that when I put fixative on soft pastel, you really, really notice it. Like it darkens and it bothers me and it just is not close. The problem with soft pastels, I mean, I suspect this is one of the reasons I don't use them very much. They're just so hard to protect. The only true way that you can protect them is putting them under glass. And most people are not able to do that because it's just too expensive. Attagirl says, can you give guidance in terms of color to color the base? Warm dog, cool paper, darker or warm? Try a bunch of different things. I honestly don't think that far in advance. I'm pretty spontaneous about it. It's up to you guys how to do it. Dusty says, can't stand soft pastels. The worst sensory experience after chalk. For some people, it is frustrating. Like I have a friend actually who cannot stand the sound of styrofoam. Like it just drives her up the wall. I feel like there's a word for that. I can't remember. But yeah, for some people, just the feel of it is terrible. Some people hate charcoal. They hate the way it feels on the paper. So it really depends. Emer says, how do I get soft pastels to stick without fixative then? You don't. I mean, it's just like this. I mean, really what you have to do is take very good care of them. What I usually do is I just take a sheet of tracing paper and I put that on top. I do think it's better if you can to have them lie flat. That's not always possible, but I suspect that that's going to be a lot better than putting them in a vertical portfolio. Marie is asking, where do I find the photo downloads? Well, what you guys want to do is you want to go down to the YouTube video description below, and we have links to our Flickr page, and you guys can download free high-resolution photos for your artwork. There's actually an album called Dog References, so you guys can check that out, and that's what we are going to be doing today. Okay, let's get started. Let me zoom out so you guys can see a little bit better. I have not used pastels in so long. I'm so not in the headspace for this. So I think what I want to do is just start with some quick ones. And then maybe towards the end, I'll do one that's a little bit more finished. So the one I'm going to do right now is the photo in the lower left-hand corner that's in the middle. Okay, you'll see pretty quickly which one that is. For chalk pastel, I really like to draw big. I have trouble drawing small in general, but I feel like especially with chalk pastel, you need that physical space to move around. And what I'm doing right now is truly no different than what I would be doing if I was doing a charcoal sketch. I mean, sure, there's the color involved, but all that other stuff, big masses and really seeing the form, very, very helpful. Let me just fix the autofocus so you guys can see a little bit better. And I'm going to change the contrast a little bit more. Okay, and I'm putting my head all the way back and I'm squinting. I think I drew too big. So let's adjust the size a little bit. Really, really sketchy and really loose. I feel that with chalk pastels, you really have to have a good initial sketch. Chalk pastels, they're just so hard to erase. And I really try not to erase with chalk pastels because they do better when you can be more direct with it. Oh, shoot, I'm not remembering that. That's a problem. By the way, this dog is a family member's, let's see, what is this dog? It's my brother-in-law's partner's parents' dog. And a family member was house sitting. Actually, these are the same people that have the chickens. So they have the chickens, and they have so many dogs. And I had a family member. This is a very productive visit with the family member. I got pictures of chickens, of dogs. It's great. These people are really good in terms of getting good reference photos of animals. It's nice. I mean, if I erased at any stage, it would be right now, because this is just one color. It's pretty easy to do. And as a demo, let me just show you what that looks like. Although, look at this, I have oil pastel on this. So I guess if I wanted to, I totally could go in and do that. But I'm not going to. I am not a big fan of doing a lot of erasing because to me, it feels like backtracking, and I don't like that. I'm the type of person who need to feel that I am moving forward, and doing a lot of erasing just feels a little bit like a crutch. I don't like that crap. Now I have ugh, you guys don't mix your art supplies. That kneaded eraser had oil pastel in it, and now it's getting on my soft pastel. Ew, it's like all sticky. Gross. This is the problem when you work in multiple media. They start to blend with each other. Certainly says, what? No thumbnails? This is the reason why. This is one of those sessions where I'm just going to sketch. I'm not after a composition because today's demo is more about the media. It's not about really composing something. And that's okay, you guys. That's fine. You can have scenarios where you say, okay, today I'm going to screw the thumbnails. I'm just going to draw. And that's fine because you can't focus on everything at the same time. And some days you can say, okay, I really, really need to compose. This is a full out piece. And I think it's good to do that because you don't always need to do thumbnails, especially if you're just trying to figure out what the material does. That's all you really need. Okay, I'm picking a little bit because I'm not really warmed up yet. So just get right into it. All right, it's pretty light color. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the negative space around the dog first. Ooh, I need some extra. See, this happens sometimes with the Rembrandts, especially. Look at this. Does everybody see how the middle doesn't make any marks? That's not good. Like if you want to put a big area, that's going to look bad. So what I do is I just take a scrap sheet. So that way, now you get the nice even tone. If you do it the other way, you're in trouble. Okay, this blue is a lot lighter than I thought it was. So I'm actually going to switch to this dark purple. In general, it is a situation where you do want to go light to dark. Because again, if you're not going to do a lot of erasing, there's no reason to put the blacks in right away. Like you put the blacks in right away, you can't really go back. I mean, you can a little bit, but not very much. And so it's better, in my opinion, to err on going too light at first. And really, if you're going to add black to a soft pastel drawing, my recommendation, you guys, do it last. Absolute last thing that you want to do. Let me just tone this down. I think it's a little bit bright. Okay, that's better. I think if you want to add black, that should be like the last 10% of the drawing. I'm not going to do a huge amount with the background, but does everybody see how this just makes the piece feel a little bit more solid? Let's do some brown down here at the bottom. And by the way, it is really nice to have a scrap sheet of paper where you can just mess around and do some of the evening out of the pastels. I do that in general. If I use ink wash, if I use charcoal, I always have a scrap sheet where I can test things because sometimes it's not exactly what I want to do. Okay, let's get into the dog. And I think what I want to do, let's get in some of the whites. You know, let's use, this is the Terry Ludwig. Let me just try the Terry Ludwig with the white. I mean, these feel pretty good. They're not, I think I'm probably just more used to the Rembrandts. That's probably why. So I take what I say with a grain of salt. You should take everything I say with a grain of salt in general, but especially for the pastels, because I'm so accustomed to the Rembrandts. I mean, those are really the only ones I've used a lot. I guess I used a little bit of new pastel when I was a poor art student, but not that much. I mean, I used oil chalk pastels quite a bit in art school because it was such a great option for drawing with color. I mean, in retrospect, I kind of can't believe that I didn't do more colored pencil or oil pastel. I guess it just didn't occur to me to do that. Yeah, like these are really good, I would say, for the bigger, broader strokes. I don't know. Jury's still out. I'm not sure. By the way, if you guys have a question, just put it into the chat and I will take a break every now and then from the drawing and answer questions and comments, because I cannot draw and read the chat and answer questions at the same time. That is definitely one thing I am not capable of doing. It's too scatterbrained. I think what I might want to do for this is maybe build up the white. This actually is very similar to painting in the sense that it's a lot of building and layering. And so this is sort of like those of you guys who were at the paint along yesterday, where what you do on the first pass sets you up to do something else. So like this dye is not going to stay white, but it's a good way for me to get started. Let's stick with the Terry Ludwigs for now. I just want to see how they do. And just some big, bold shapes like this. My plan is that this is a warm-up. This is not going to be what I spend more time on. That's really fun, though. It feels really good to draw. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love painting, but drawing is a lot more my thing, and it's my comfort zone. I just love drawing. It just feels so good. And you know something? I've been working on some digital stuff, because those of you guys who watched, I had a stream a little ways back. It was with Deep Deep. Remember that sad fish? The sad fish that we were drawing. And I've been working on it because I want to spend some time on it and just see if I can actually get better at Procreate. And it just doesn't feel like this. This feels so good. Like, I just am loving this so much. I love the way this feels. It's just great. I mean, I know digital has so many advantages, especially if you're in freelance illustration. It must be so handy. So your art director is like, could you change this to blue? It's like, it takes 2 seconds. And editorial illustration, the turnover rate for it's so high because newspapers are a deadline and they don't have time to really work a lot of options. And so it's a great option, but nothing beats this. I just really, really like the way this feels. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. Gergana says, would you always start sketching with a color that's closer to the color of the paper? Not necessarily. It depends on how you want to work. Like, some people really like to build more gradually. And actually, let me show you guys this. I really think, you guys, one of the best artists to look at for chalk pastels, Mary Cassatt. Oh, so good. And it's great to look at her range, because if you guys look at this image, it's all very, very soft, very delicate strokes. Now, look at that compared to this. This is as bold and as hard as you can get, and you can feel the shift of pressure. She's pressing so hard here. And in this image, her pastel is probably barely touching the surface. It's a very slow build. Now, this image is more a combination of the two. I mean, part of this is the density of the pastel. So if you guys look at the drawing, does everybody see how the face of the mother is pretty dense? Seems like that is an area that has a lot of pastels really built up. But then what I love about the right-hand side of the mother is you can almost see the skeleton of how the pastel has been built up, those rigorous strokes that go up and down. So my recommendation, you guys, take a good look at Mary Cassatt's pastel drawings. Try to analyze how they're put together. Do a master copy. I mean, that would be a great exercise. And then the other person that's really great for chalk pastels is Edgar Degas. He did all those pastel drawings of jockeys, of ballerinas, and Oh my God, they're so good. Like, if you guys have ever had a chance, go to the Metropolitan in New York, and there's a room with Degas pastels. It's very dim because the drawings get ruined if they're in really, really bright light, and it's beautiful. Go see one of those. Oh my God, you're never going to look at soft pastels the same way ever again. Michelle says, I work dark to light with soft pastels. Yeah, I mean, if that works for you, that's great. Guys, there's no correct way. There's no you should. It just depends on your preferences. Because I get a lot of questions. People say, should I do this? Is this the way you're supposed to do it? And I'm like, well, if you feel that you should, that's not always the best thing, because oftentimes people are doing things for the wrong reasons. They feel obligated to do it. Then they don't actually want to do it, but they feel like they should. And that's not always a good thing. By the way, if you did not know this, Angie is saying you have to spray outside because it's toxic. Yes. If you guys use any type of fixative, do not spray it inside your house. It is not good for you. I need all the brain cells that I've got. So it's really not a good idea to do it indoors. Oh, this is a good point. So Tainley says, if you work on an easel instead of flat, the dust falls down. Cool. I don't usually work on an easel when I do soft pastels. I honestly don't know why. I just think about easel work as being more painting, because when I draw, like if I'm going to figure drawing class, I actually don't work on an easel. I work on a drawing horse. I just like the drawing horse a lot better. Mareka says, how hard are we supposed to push? That's a great question. I think it really depends on how visible you want the mark to be. Because those Mary Cassatt images, I would say probably with this one, she's not pressing hard at all. I think with this one, she's probably pressing really hard, like out to kill marks. And so depending on the type of quality you want, it's totally up to you. And Mareka's asking, can we mix hard pastels and soft pastels? Are you asking about oil pastels or crayons? I don't know what you mean by hard pastels. So if you want to follow up, definitely put that in. Okay, it looks like other people have answers to that as well. Michelle says, I love watching you demonstrate. So much fun. Definitely will try your approach with my students. Thank you. By the way, Michelle, if you're teaching remotely right now, which I suspect you probably are, we do have a section on artprof.org. If you click in the menu, it says teaching art online. We have so many videos on the physical setup, on all of the software for the setups that I do. So definitely check that out. Mare, my dog officially went from a pig to a goat. But I love that. I love that the image is evolving. I mean, guys, you don't, I mean, like, who shows up to a basketball game and within a minute does a slam dunk? Nobody. Well, I don't know. Maybe Michael Jordan could if he was playing against a bunch of 5-year-olds, but that's pretty specific. Dusty Git says, I just bought Mungo oil pastel. Here I come. So excited. You show how to project a painting with this tool. To me, you guys, this is much closer to painting than it is to drawing. It's a great bridge. If you guys are a little bit intimidated by painting, which I know a lot of people are, this is a really nice transition. And then oil pastel, to me, is even closer to painting. So if you want to get better, that's a really good way to do it. Mareka says, I have something that looks like soft pastels, but the box says hard pastels. That could be a translation thing. I mean, some people call these chalk pastels. Some people call them soft pastels. It depends. If they feel the same, they're probably the same thing. If they're dusty, that's the big difference, is that soft pastels are dusty. Aiken says, can I have the name of the artist again? Yes. The name of the artist is Mary Cassatt. And I also just love that she's a female artist who was working, well, this is not necessarily specific to France, still the case today in a very male-dominated environment, working with the Impressionists. I mean, they were all white guys. And she really stands out to me as somebody who really is severely underappreciated. It's a bummer. Okay. Atta Girl says, I don't see you blending with your fingers. We aren't there yet, right? Keyboard is dusted. Yeah, that is true. I'm going to have to be careful about that. Here's the thing, you guys. People get way too smudge happy. I get it. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to go, woo, and like smudge everything. But the thing is, too much blending, I think people tend to overdo it. And if you blend a lot, you also end up with very muddy colors really fast. I mean, that's what you're fighting with chalk pastels. You're fighting the muddiness. It's similar to oil paint. Oil paint, I feel that I'm always fighting the tendency to get muddy. And so for me, I have way more control over what's going on if I can stay a lot more direct with my strokes. And so that's why, for me, instead of going in and smudging this like crazy, I'm not going to smudge for a long time, if I even do. I have chalk pastel drawings where I don't smudge at all. And so smudging, in my opinion, sort of overrated, you guys. It's not as great as everybody thinks it is. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to do a light pass. I'm going to channel Mary Cassatt right now, okay? I'm going to just put down a pass of marks just to clear up some of the white in here. And you guys can see there's no blending with my finger, but I am getting blending-like effects. And honestly, this is much easier to control. When you start blending things, everything gets really messy really fast. So you can blend just directly. I like this a lot better. It also makes your marks more assertive. Okay, now this is getting very dusty, so I'm just going to take it, shake off all the dust into my trash can. Let me make this a little bit darker. I think now that I've done more work, it's looking a little bit too light. Now you can see the color a little bit better. Okay, let me know in the chat if it gets too dark, because sometimes the colors fluctuate depending on what's going on. Okay, let's switch to the Rembrandts. And I'm going to try to do some more rigorous mark making. And because this is a pretty fast drawing that I'm going to do, I'm going to get into the darks much sooner. Like if I was going to work on this longer, I would not do the dark this soon, but I'm going to do it now. Actually, this area is really beautiful. Does everybody see? There's a little touch of blue there. I'll use these. Oops, geez, that got really crumbly. I don't know. I don't know if I like, maybe you know what it is? I think I know. The Terry Lugwoods, I suspect, are better when you're doing bigger, broader strokes. But the Rembrandts, in addition to being good with the bigger, broader strokes, are also better for some of the detail. Yeah, this is better. Okay, so that's what I would do. If I'm going to keep working with these pastels, I will do the Terry Ludwigs for the bigger areas. Okay, like in here, this is fun to articulate. And again, so much of this is taste. Some people might look at the more rigorous Mary Cassatt piece and say, oh, I don't like how messy that feels. Or some people might look at the other one and say, I don't like how soft that feels. It truly, truly is a matter of taste. I mean, I do think all of art is a matter of, does that float your boat? Doesn't float everybody's boat. Oh, I need to put in this like collar that's in here. I still feel pretty stiff. Have not been drawing much lately, but I'm trying to just punch in some of the contrast because again, I'm not going to spend forever on this piece. I'm just warming up still. But yeah, I spend a lot of time drawing around the dog That helps me a lot. So these like pockets of space, very helpful for articulating that. Who's drawing along, by the way? Tell me in the chat who is drawing along, and maybe what has been your experience with chalk pastels. Is it something you do a lot? Have you not done it for a long time? Let me know. I honestly think it's been over 10 years since I've used chalk pastels. It's been a while. But this is great. I mean, I love that the draw-alongs, they give me the opportunity to revisit media that, you know, if I was not doing art prof, I probably would not do. I mean, that's the cool thing about art prof is I have reasons to do stuff that's outside my comfort zone. There's not always time for that. It depends on what your practice is like. But I know oftentimes it's hard to justify just messing around because sometimes you're like, oh man, I really should be working on this instead. It's hard to do that. All right, now I'm starting to warm up. I still feel a little bit wimpy with these pastels, but hopefully I can change that after I do this warm up. I just feel like I'm not being very rigorous with my strokes. It's a lot of white. I mean, you do have to put white into your drawing. That is definitely a part of it, but I don't want to rely on it too much. Let's really get, there's like this huge pocket of, yeah, like the belly is very white. Let me just really build that up. See, what I like about the Rembrandts is if you press, I mean, I'm pressing hard right now. I'm not holding back. You really can build quite a bit. So I can put the blue over, put it here, and that works out pretty well. All right, I'm going to do a tiny bit more, and then I'm going to segue to another one because again, I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is fun though. I've not done this in such a long time. Okay, let's do some squinting, stepping back. Maybe I'll just quickly block in some of these larger areas back here. This is the same thing as the chicken stream, where this background is so helpful. I mean, even just like a little hint of these trees back here, really handy to have that. I mean, I like the background because I can just play. I can have a good time just messing around. It's nice. People are oftentimes way more experimental when it comes to backgrounds. They're less likely to get all uptight about things. Okay, that's a pretty good warm-up. Let me see in the chat what you guys are talking about, and then I'll start a new drawing that I'm going to spend more time on. We probably are not going to do all 4 references. We're just going to do, I always put more references, like just in case I go through them a little bit faster. This is a cool tip. Michelle says, I put a dust catcher at the bottom of my paper when working vertically on an easel. That's awesome. I love that. Feelings says, I kind of find it hard to get the details in. You know what you can do? You can work bigger because then you have more space. But really, this is not the media. If you want to do details, it's just not conducive to soft pastels. So if you really are a detail-oriented person, either you got to work way bigger or use something like colored pencil, because you have to think about every art media has a certain set of special talents. There are certain things it's just not very good at. And so, yeah, I mean, you can try stuff and you'll probably see something in your Facebook feed that is like, this artist drew the most photorealistic portrait that you've ever seen in 15 centuries. You'll have stuff like that. But to me, it's not very fun. And I feel that I'm a better artist when I really am exploiting an art material's best skill set. Angie says, I only hatch with pastels instead of blend because I always smudge too much. When I do smudge, it's in small quantities. Or if I want to put like a whole pass of smudging as like a ground for a drawing, I might do something like that. But yeah, smudging, it can be difficult. Like this is a great point from Karen, who says, if you smudge, the brilliance goes, I feel the colors go flat. Yeah, you lose the intensity because you know what? The mark that you put down, it doesn't have a bite. Like you guys see, let me zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. You guys see how there's a certain amount of assertiveness, like you just put it down. That mark, it has a certain amount of bite, which I happen to really want. That's a quality I really look for in my drawings. It may not be for you. It really depends. Vergana says, it's just me, but I don't see any blue in the original photo. You don't. So guess why I did that? Because I can. You guys, you are not married to your reference photo. You guys should be cheating on your reference photos left and right. You should commit adultery with your reference photos because your reference photos, it's a starting point. It's a launching pad, but it is not the final destination. In my opinion, if you're trying to replicate the reference photo, you don't need to draw. You just use the photo. It's a lot better. And so I rarely stick to the original colors because the original colors in a reference photo, they're not good. When I think about that day that I was hanging, it was like a dog party. It was insane. Dog party next to a chicken coop. I mean, chickens were very well protected. Don't worry about that. But the light during that day was so beautiful. And what I've noticed also, maybe this is specific to Utah, is that the shadows in Utah are really blue. They look like a periwinkle. But you know something? I've taken lots of photos here in Utah of landscapes that I've seen, and the photos do not get that periwinkle. They end up looking gray or brown. And so that's one of the reasons I tend to really pump up what's going on color-wise. It's just more fun. Like if I put gray and black pastel in the background, I would not get the complementary color relationship of the yellow ochre and the purpley color. I know it looks a little blue for you guys, but that's my webcam. Della Luna is asking, how do you select paper color? You can buy sheet by sheet, but most pastel pads are a selection, or you could buy one that's like all gray. They don't usually sell ones that are all green. You usually have to buy them in a assorted pad. Honestly, I just go and I buy them. I don't know, sometimes I feel like a Neanderthal because a lot of you guys ask such great questions that are so specific and they're so helpful. But when I say, I don't know, I just do it. Like it just doesn't sound very sophisticated, but that's just what happens. Tempest Games says, soft pastels are a favorite of mine because they're messy and imperfect. They encourage bravery in making marks. Yeah, I mean, you can't be like a sheep. You got to be a wolf when you draw with soft pastels. I think that they require a certain amount of, like you said, bravery. Emer says, what I find hard is getting the color to be accurate, but at the same time, it gives me the freedom to really play. Guys, toss the whole accuracy thing out the window. Really, it's like if you want accuracy, take a photo. It's much better, way faster. Cameras are really good at it nowadays. Accuracy is not the point of drawing. I think the point of drawing is to show somebody how you see something. The way person A sees something versus person B, they're very different. It's interpretation. How do you see that? And if you just try to replicate things, it gets really boring really fast. This is a great chicken story. I had a dog once, says W315, get loose and run down a chicken, but all she did was hold it down with her chest and run off laughing. Oh, these dogs were insane. They were going nuts. I mean, it's a good thing those chickens were really well protected. So this is a good point from Soyton Lee. It's hard to get exact colors, but you can get the values really easily. Yeah, I would say between the two, color versus value, value is a lot more helpful because value is how light or dark something is. So you can see in my drawing, I have a dark background with a bright dog, and that lets the dog pop. Now, what colors the values are, that's up to me. I mean, I chose to make this a dark purple. I chose to make this a light yellow ochre. So yes, that's a great example that value is something you really should, I think, take from the photo, assuming that you want something that looks fairly realistic looking. Okay, let's switch it up and let's do blue. I know I have the gray, but I sort of like the idea of blue because this dog is a little bit light orangey. So let's see what's going on. I think, which one should I do? Let's do the photo. I have the photos on the lower left. Let's do the top one, okay? A little bit more warmed up. This time, I'm gonna use yellow ochre. I used burnt sienna last time to sketch, and I'm gonna really try to get some distance. I think I was a little too close to the paper. I'm gonna try to sketch from further away because, oh, I can't see this. I think I gotta go back to the burnt sienna. I wanna get further back because I think I was starting to fragment a little bit more. Still drawing too big. See, typically, I much prefer to draw 18 by 24. That's sort of, for me, the minimum, but in inches. I know, America's dumb. We just, it's like the whole planet is on the metric system, but no, we are using inches. It's a real pain in the butt. I don't know why. It's a little bit silly. So I like 18 by 24 because I feel like I can spread out a little bit more. This does feel a little bit constricted for me, but because of the live setup, it's just more convenient. Yeah, the body's way too big. The body has like a down. Ooh, I did not get that slant. Let's put that a little higher. Get the slant in there. I mean, I love how bony dogs are. Tell me in the chat, who has a dog? I don't have a dog. I had a bad experience with a dog when I was a kid. And my parents were not into pets, so it didn't matter. But actually, my older daughter, she was terrified of dogs for a long time. She seems better, but she used to freak when she saw a dog. But then we were living for a while with a family member who had a dog, so she sort of had to get over it. I mean, this dog was really, really chill, so I think that made a big difference. We live near a park that is like, it's like a dog rave. It's like insanity. There's so many dogs there. I mean, I really have like never seen that many dogs in one place before. I mean, granted, I'm not really somebody that spends a lot of time at dog parks, but this is like truly impressive. How many dogs are there every single day? I just think it's so cool. I mean, I love drawing animals, you guys. Who here likes to draw animals? They're beautiful. I love their anatomy. I love the bony structure. There's so many things that are so great about drawing animals. And I've been wanting to get over to the zoo in Utah because I've never been there before and see what I can get done. The other thing, we do have a friend here in Utah who has a bulldog. You guys may have seen, I did post some drawings of that bulldog. I mean, it was a while ago. It was like a year ago. But really want to go and do like a whole photo shoot with her bulldog because her bulldog is awesome. It's like a beast. It feels like it's from Greek mythology. Like that's how weird it is. I mean, I see why they don't have kids, these friends, because, oh my God, the bulldog is like, it's so much work. I could not believe what they had to do to like keep it from destroying things. Like it just like ate this tennis ball alive. I mean, not like tennis balls are alive, but you know, if it was, it would have been mangled to death by this bulldog. Sorry, let me make this a little bit brighter. You guys can see a little bit better. There we go. I'm trying to get some distance because I am definitely too close. I want to get this. I'm spending a little more time on this drawing because I am going to not finish this drawing, but I'm just going to spend more time on it than I did on the last one. So I just want to make sure that I feel good about what's happening. This tail is, we're squinting, not good. More squinting. I feel like the head might be a little bit too big. Make that a little smaller. Yeah, I didn't really get the arch of the face. Like that. I love these legs. It's so cool the way they stick out. They're so white. I'm looking at the photo and I'm going back and forth. Actually, you guys should be looking at the photo more than your drawing. If you spend too much time looking at your drawing, you're not getting the information. Sometimes I'd walk around the class at RISD when I used to teach there, and I would see students who are just glued to their drawing. Like they're not even looking, like they're glancing at the model once in a while. And I had a teacher who used to say, you should look at the model more than you look at your drawing. Okay, I'm starting to repeat myself with the drawing, so I definitely need to move on. Let's just pop in some contrast. So I'll use the Terry Ludwig's to get some of that in there, just to quickly block in some of these. I'm really going to try to loosen up. I was not loose on the last one. I think I'm just not warmed up yet. I don't know. I look at those Degas and Mary Cassatt images, and I'm like, how can they be so good and loose? It just makes me sad. I don't know. I feel so inferior when I look at those. It's a simultaneous feeling. You sort of feel like garbage, but then you're like really inspired. Hopefully the inspired part takes over first. I might do the same thing where I just build up the white because, I mean, definitely this is not the color of the dog because I'm going to have to build up some yellow ochre on top. So let's just do that. And how about some pockets? Actually, this is that's a nice rich purple. I'm going to just test here and see what that color's like. Whoa, that's a nice, ooh, I like that. That's pretty different than the black that I have here. Let me show you guys. This is the Rembrandt black. Wow, that is really different. You guys probably can't see the difference, but maybe this is supposed to be black, but it looks really purple to me. Maybe I shouldn't use it. It's a little bit dramatic. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use this dark Rembrandt brown because there are these like patches in the background that are pretty dark. And I need them to help me articulate. It's like the chickens in the coop. Like I needed to draw the hay that was near them. So that way the drawings are more cohesive. So don't tell, you guys, when you don't draw the background, you're missing out. You really, really are. There's so much that can be done. In fact, it's sort of cool. There's like this little fence back here. Give the dog a little bit of context. This dog was like sniffing this fence for so long. It just was like really, really interested in the fence. It's like, really? What's going on back there? Is it that great? I guess. Yeah, like this is a beautiful pattern. Does everybody see these lines in the fence? I mean, like, I don't know that I'm actually going to develop it beyond that, but it is very helpful. Let's use like a dark green for down here. This is the ground, and this is helpful so that way the feet actually feel like they're weighted. They're actually like planted on the ground. So I just want to toss in a little bit of that. It's not quite dark enough. Maybe like a darker green. Let me see what this green looks like. Ooh, this is gross. This has like a waxy surface to it. Ew, that's like viridian. Gross. Okay, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna put some of this brown over, and actually maybe I should put a little blue. Is this that really gross phthalo blue? I want like a grayish blue. Maybe I'll try this one. This is like an ultramarine color. Still really saturated. Maybe what I'll do, I'll just do a pass. I'm not going to do a lot of blue, but I definitely want to show the coolness of the ground compared to the warmth of the background. At least in my drawing. I mean, it's not necessarily like that in the drawing. Okay. And actually, the color is like really bright. Everyone see that? It's like shining. I'm just going to toss that in there so I don't forget about it. So I'm not going to be able to make that bright later on if I don't do it now. Okay, that's helpful. Cool. Let's use the Terry Ludwig and just give this like a base of color. And then I can go in and work it some more. I guess this is all like burnt sienna. I'm really trying to loosen up. I'm not loose yet, but it depends if that's important to you. That's not important to everybody. Some people really want something tighter looking. It's a stylistic choice. So don't think that because I want to do it, it's better. It's not necessarily. It's better for me. May not be better for you. May not be the results that you are looking for. And let's really get the snout more pronounced because that's a very bony section. I don't want to flop out on me. All right, let's take a quick break and see what people are talking about. Well, a lot of people in here have dogs. Sarah Bland says, I have a Boston Terrier. She's being drawn regularly. That's awesome. I mean, I don't have a dog, but if I did, I'd be drawing it like all day. Emil is asking, does the type of paper matter, or can you just use any? I would just say the important thing is that it has a tooth. Don't get paper that's smooth because the pastel is just going to slide off. So I recommend doing that. Gergana says, I'm scared to draw animals because I can't draw the fur or scales. Honestly, Gergana, the fur and the scales, they are cosmetic. I think the harder part of drawing animals is to draw the bone structure. That's a lot more difficult. Don't sweat the fur and stuff. I think if you just focus on doing some gesture drawings, the fur and the scales will come later. Because I think, what's the phrase again? It's like something in front of the horse's mouth. I can't remember. Like you're getting far ahead before you're really ready for that. I mean, I love going to the zoo and sketching. I have not done that in a really long time, but they're really fun. Mitchell Scott says, do you ever start with some vine charcoal for the initial drawing and then move to pastels? I generally don't, because the thing is, I'm the type of person, I really like to sketch in the art media I'm going to do the piece in. So for example, when I sketch with watercolors, I don't do a pencil sketch first. And I know people think I'm insane because a lot of people feel that they need that. But with watercolor, you really can make it light. And if you make it that light, ultimately you're going to paint over that. Because what happens is you have to shift your mindset. Like if I'm drawing with pencil, I think a certain way. And if I'm drawing with watercolor, I think a certain way. And so if I go from pencil to watercolor in the same artwork, I have to shift my brain and think about things a little bit differently. And I find if I just do all watercolor, I don't have to think about it. Same thing with Vine charcoal. Vine charcoal is such a different feel than these. At least in this context, there's not really an advantage to using Vine charcoal, in my opinion. And Vine charcoal is so powdery that chances are it's going to taint some of the colors in the soft pastel. So that's why I wouldn't do it. But again, you guys, if it works for you, do it. It's totally fine. This is cool. Elisa says, I've recently taken a scientific and natural science illustration class. It was so much fun drawing all those animals. If there's anything I miss about RISD, it's the Nature Lab. The Nature Lab, it's a natural history museum, but you're allowed to, I mean, not literally, it feels like a natural history museum, and you're allowed to touch everything. And they have the most incredible specimens there. I mean, I really wish I could do that. Feelings is asking, why do you squint? Here's why. The tendency for a lot of people when you're drawing is to get really close to the drawing and look at details. That is the tendency. So when I step back and I squint, it forces me to see the whole composition and not break it up into little pieces, because that's what people have trouble with, is keeping track of the whole composition and not just doing one spot. Like I see a lot of YouTube videos. I saw this Wolverine drawing video the other day. Forget what I was looking up. Maybe I Googled Hugh Jackman or something. I mean, I do that a lot. But it was a YouTube video where they were drawing Wolverine. It was one of those like photorealistic drawings. And it's like, you know, like they make this one patch like super real, and then they do the nose and they make it super real. And the whole thing is blank. Like that to me is a bad idea, because you're not getting any cohesion in the piece. And so when I squint and I look back, it allows me to just simplify. Because here's the thing, you guys, details are much easier to see than the overall structure and the overall composition. That much, much harder. Most people, when they look at a face, will see eyelashes before they see eye sockets. Eye sockets are not on the surface. You're not going to think about them, but you will look at all the mascara that somebody's wearing. So this is a question from Renzo. Would a purple tone background set off the yellowish color of the dog? Probably. I mean, they're complementary colors. It certainly would work. I mean, I was doing that yellow and purple still life painting yesterday, and it really pops. I'm not saying because I'm great. It pops because it's a given that those two colors are going to have that effect upon each other. This is good. Karen says, I don't need to squint. I just take my glasses off. That's awesome. Yeah. I have contacts. So yeah. Oh, this is it. Seven Angelic. Thank you. Putting the cart before the horse. I knew there was a horse in there. I just wasn't really sure exactly how it was involved. Boo Boo says it's really useful that you think out loud. Guys, that's why we don't script anything. And I don't really plan much beyond what I'm going to draw and the material for these live streams, because this is what it's like being an artist. It is not predictable. You do not have any guarantees as far as what's going to happen. And it really is an inner monologue the whole time. Do you guys have that? Tell me in the chat. Do you have a monologue in your head while you draw? I mean, Deepti Menon, who is one of the teaching artists here, she's so funny. She like literally talks to herself. And I just love that. I think that's great. So much of this is in your head. And I think it's helpful for you guys to see that there is a constant questioning process. You rarely know what you're doing. A lot of it's trial and error. And you're going to mess up a lot. You guys are going to make a lot of bad drawings. And you should. Okay, I'm going to say that's the one thing you should do. You should make bad drawings. If you guys want to make good ones, you got to make bad ones. That's your quota, okay? So next time you guys make a bad drawing, you just say to yourself, I'm fulfilling my quota of bad drawings. That's wonderful. This is a good suggestion from Elisa. One of my high school art teachers used to make us stand across the room. That's what I would do. If I was not in the middle of a live stream and I had lots of studio space, I would totally be doing that. Marenka says, I got a monologue the same as you do. Like, I'm going to use this one. Oh, what will this do? Maybe that one. Yep. It's very, very all over the place and random. Okay, let's do some more. More squinting. I don't know, I feel like lately I've just been spending so much more time squinting. Maybe it's because these live streams demand that. Or maybe it's just I'm too much in a rush all the time. That makes me think of something. Actually, on Tuesday, we have a special 4-hour-long stream with the entire Art Prof staff. This is going to be our winter raffle to do some fundraising to keep Art Prof up and running, because it might look really easy to run Art Prof, but we have a lot of expenses and they're starting to pile up. And we really, really want to keep doing this for you guys. We want to give you the content you're looking for. I love getting suggestions. And most of the time when I work on Art Prof, I am sort of, my head is spinning in a good way, in a good way where I'm like brimming with ideas, and I love that. But it was really nice. I was writing a letter to the Art Prof family, because that's what I do when we have a fundraiser. And it was just so nice to like just sit and write. I miss writing, actually. I miss it a lot, because I don't know if you guys knew this, but I had a blog for a really long time. I had a blog for like 10 years. You can still find it. It's online. It's claralieu.wordpress.com. And I used to write a lot because I had a column. Well, it wasn't a column. I was a blogger for HuffPost back when they were the Huffington Post. They are now HuffPost. And I loved it. I loved writing. I loved having that time to sit and articulate. I just don't have time now. There's too much going on. Putting in a little bit of black for the snout because I need that right now, just to get the form a little bit more articulated. But I miss that reflection time. And so maybe that's what I'm trying to do right now. Give myself the time. But then again, I love putting down these big strokes. This is fun. Like now I'm pressing hard right now. I am not holding back. I mean, the legs are so much fun. Oh my God. Okay, let's build light to dark. So I think some patches of yellow ochre. I mean, it's hard for me to work light to dark. That is not my natural tendency. My tendency is to go straight for the black. I love black. That's why I'm a monochrome person. I just love value. Value to me is so fun. And so with soft pastels, because I do tend to work light to dark, it is harder for me because it's not my natural tendency. But that's why different media, that's why it's great to do different media, because then you start to challenge your, quote, normal ways of working. It's pretty dark in there, so I'm going to leave that alone. And I do think the key to soft pastels is fluctuating between the tip and the side. Let me just make this a little bit darker so you guys can see a little bit better what the color is like. Okay, if it looks too dark, tell me, because sometimes I don't always get the most accurate view of what it looks like on camera. I mean, someday, maybe the technology will get good enough that we can have like DSLR quality live streams, but it's just not there yet. I mean, I do miss getting to produce more of our studio tutorials, the ones that we spend like a billion years on. But oh my God, they just take so long to produce. And I get so uptight about the quality. I mean, sometimes I feel like it's my fault because I just can't compromise the quality. But I'm a little bit compulsive like that. Tell me in the chat, are you compulsive with stuff? Because I can't let it go. If I feel that I should, and I'm like, I know I want to do this, but I don't have time, I'll do it anyway. I used to do that at RISD, actually. I used to always have this thing about the blotters in the print room. I know it's so nerdy. It's like I would stay after class, even when I didn't have to. And I would always make sure all the blotters were nice and dry. Because it's annoying when the blotters are wet and nobody cleans up. It's annoying. I mean, in a print shop especially, it's like your responsibility to do that. So that is not, it's not unusual, especially if you're the teacher, to do stuff like that. But you don't have to. I mean, there are studio monitors who will take care of that for you. But yeah. All right, I got to jump around a little bit more. More squinting. I need burnt sienna. I'm not sure I like this brown. And I really need to pump up. There's so much blue in the fur, the like whitish fur. It's quite a bit. I will say, I'm having a lot of fun, and I do feel less pressure for this to, quote, look good. I guess because I can make the excuse that, oh, well, you haven't drawn this for a long time. Of course you're rusty. It's fine. That's why sometimes you do stuff that is not your thing, and it's so nice. Like you have an excuse for it to not look good. Whereas when it's something you're supposed to be good at, in theory, sometimes it's just so much more pressure to feel that you need to do a good job. I mean, I think sometimes we are our own worst enemy as artists. I think a lot of us put pressure on ourselves that's just not necessary. And I think a lot of the limitations people put on themselves, I think a lot of them are self-imposed. I don't think a lot of them come from other people. I mean, sometimes they do. Like if you're a high school student and you're in an art class, it's kind of hard to avoid that. But more often than not, it's not that. It's us. We are our own worst critic. In fact, we have a stream about that if you guys are interested. I think it's called Fighting Your Perfectionist Artist, and it's in the Artist Wellness playlist. This is not dark enough. I don't like this purple. I wish, you know what I need? I need a blue. I need something that's like in between this blue and this black. I feel like I don't want to use black. But I just feel like it's too much brown. I need to get some cooler colors in here. Let me just take some blue. Let me just move it around because, you know, the key to colors, you have to distribute them well. Sometimes people put in a color and they say, oh, it looks so bad. And I'm like, because you only put it in one spot. I always make sure when I add another color that it gets distributed throughout the piece. And that makes a really big difference. Let's put some of this. This is way too bright, but I'll tone it down in a little bit. I need to get the color to be a lot more interesting. The color is boring right now. I don't like it. I need more articulation. See, it's like you have to go back and forth between like the smudgy stuff and the more articulate stuff. This blue is so annoying. I wish it was darker. Well, might just have to be a lot of this brown that I need. Right now, I'm just trying to articulate things because everything's so mushy in the beginning. And so I'm going in and I'm just trying to tighten it up. And then I'll go back in and I'll mess it up on purpose. I love this bone. Isn't that a beautiful bone? Oh, this is really cool. This is beautiful, this whole area. Oh, that's starting to get really fun. I know the blue looks terrible. I'm going to fix it. I also think a lot of people, sometimes it's like they want instant results. And barking up the wrong tree. I mean, I could be the older person and say, in my days, kids today. But there is something to be said, I think, about people don't have to wait for things the way they used to. Did you guys know that when I was a kid, remember the olden days when you would watch movies on TV because that was your only chance? Anyway, my mother, she used to watch Gone with the Wind once a year when they would show it on TV. That was the only time she would watch that movie. Every single year she would watch it when it was on TV. Once a year. And it's her favorite movie. Can you imagine only seeing your favorite movie once a year? Could you imagine if they only played Jane Eyre with Michael Fassbender once a year? Oh my God, I would die. Like, that would just kill me. What if I could only watch X-Men First Class or X-Men, because, you know, Wolverine. What if I could only watch those once a year? I think my life would be very different. Things would not be the same. And now it's like, click, click, there it is. Or you guys, tell me if you ever did this. Those of you who are around 40 or older, do you remember when you wanted to watch a music video? You'd have to watch MTV for like 10 hours, hoping that they would play that one George Michael video that you really wanted to see. Oh my God, the dumb things that we did to make sure that we got to see stuff. It just like cracks me up. Here's a comment from Katerina who says, do you guys also feel like your drawings look like abstract paintings at the moment? That's great, Katerina, because it's like you put down the marks and then you build out of those marks. I think that's wonderful. Lisa says, people that don't clean up after themselves in the print shop are the bane of my existence. You know what I think? I think there should be an extra circle of hell in Dante's Inferno. That's for people who don't clean up their cheesecloth. Oh, no, it's not just clean your cheesecloth. Lithography people, snap your cheesecloth. That's the worst, when people don't snap their cheesecloths. I'm sure none of you know what I'm talking about, but yeah. Yeah, Angie says you'd record it on VCR. Oh my God, do you guys know how many VCR tapes we had of Star Trek: The Next Generation and X-Files? It wasn't me, it was my brother. He was like really into like recording it just the right way. It's like really funny. Supreme Mystery says, I'm learning more and more to work in very contrasting circumstances and environments and remain in control of my emotions. Thanks. It's emotional experience, you guys. Being an artist, so much of it is rooted in your emotions. I mean, that's why in the Art Prof Discord, we do have an artist wellness channel. We do have an artist wellness playlist here because, dude, we have a lot of problems as artists. We're just crazy. Donna says, I have young students who want the drawing to look finished when it's just beginning. I have to remind them all along to chill out and watch the magic unfold. I feel the magic happening to watch you. This is my first time on a live with you. Such a great demo. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Donna. That's awesome. I know, like, I literally have had students in my RISI classes. They will draw for 5 minutes and be like, it doesn't look good. I'm like, are you kidding? Even Rembrandt could not do that. Rembrandt and Raphael did crappy drawings. You'll see them. I know people are like, but he's a genius. I'm like, yeah, but he still did crappy drawings. That is just totally the way it is. Tiago says, I think my worst self-imposed issue is the need of silence to work. I hate when I don't have the peace that I want. Oh, I know. Tell me if you guys do this. Some days I'm up really late and I'm like, I totally need to go to bed. but it's like you need the mental space more than you need the sleep. I mean, you need the sleep too. I'm not saying you don't. It's just between the two. Sometimes I will sacrifice sleep because I just need the space for my head. I mean, especially those of you guys who are parents right now, if your kids are doing remote school, oh my God, it's like every half an hour, look at this. I'm like, yes, I know, but it's really hard with the constant interruptions. I feel like I just can't see straight a lot of the time. Oh my God, Seven Angelic, Quantum Leap. Oh my God, I love that show. That is like one of my favorite shows. I watched at least 3 seasons of that the summer that I had my second kid. I watched so much Quantum Leap. Oh my God, I love that show. David is asking, how do you keep your pastel sticks clean? Mine turn gray within a few minutes. Lynn says, use a cloth before putting them back in the box. I'm bad. I don't clean them. I just stick them in the box and that's kind of it. Again, that is my Neanderthal approach to doing things. Ifat says, what's your favorite animated sitcom? I don't really have one right now. I mean, my kids are watching Adventure Time and Rick and Morty like there's no tomorrow, so I get exposed to a lot of that. I guess when I was growing up, I watched a lot of Simpsons, and The Simpsons holds up pretty well. I mean, there's some stuff that's out of date that is not cool, but I watched a lot of Simpsons, and there was a series on when I was a kid. It was called Force 5, and it would be like a different series every few days. Let me know if you guys have seen that. Or I watched a lot of Robotech. Robotech was really big when I was. Feeling says, when does this live end? I'm not trying to be rude. Got to go soon. Don't want to miss any of it. I still have a little ways to go. Not going to stop anytime soon. I don't think it's going to be another hour. I would suspect 20 minutes. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I just kind of keep going until I feel like I'm almost done. But if you guys don't know, this is going to be available later on. There is going to be a replay. So, I mean, not like I'm going to do it again, but as in you can play the live streams anytime you want. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people have been going back, watching the old live streams and posting in the Discord what they make. We love it. I love it when you guys do that. Renzo, this is a great question. Could you stop now and call it done? I wouldn't feel like it was done, but one thing that I tell students a lot is that you have to work the entire piece all at once. It's like what I was talking about earlier, this like photorealistic Wolverine drawing where the eye is done and nothing else has been touched and it's all blank paper. I do think your drawing should develop at a rate where at any point you could stop and have the drawing covered. Okay, so like if I stop now, yeah, it's not done yet, but the whole thing has been worked at the same time. That's the more important thing. So yeah, I mean, I could say it's done, but yeah. Angie says, Scott Bakula is hot and nice. He's like the perfect man. But see, the thing is, okay, tell me if you guys believe this. I sort of like it when a male character, hot white male character, is also like a little bit of a badass. It just sort of makes him a little extra hot. Like to me, Scott Bakula, he's just like a little bit too nice to be hot. I mean, he's good looking, he's nice, and I really like him, but he's not like Michael Faster, Mr. Rochester asshole. Like, I mean, oh shoot, I hope that doesn't get me demonetized. Like Wolverine's such a badass. He's so mean sometimes, but he's also so nice. Like I watched X-Men the other night because, you know, I was doing that anatomy stream. I had to indulge. That scene where he's so mean to Rogue and he like drives away in the middle of the Canadian mountains and then he like feels bad and drives back and picks her. Like I just love that. That's just like the perfect combination of being a jerk but also being nice at the same time. Now, Mr. Rochester, on the other hand, he's just a jerk. There's nothing nice. I want to give a quick shout out to Michelle, who gave us a super chat and says, in case I missed the fundraiser, thank you so much for your support. We greatly appreciate you guys. We rely entirely on donations, and it has been so important to me to keep Art Prof 100% free and accessible to everybody. So any amount you guys can help us out is always greatly appreciated. Boo Boo says Scott Bakula was kind of badass in Star Trek Enterprise. You know, I tried to watch that show, not because I'm a Star Trek fan. My husband's really into Star Trek, and so he was watching it for sure. But that dumb opening song, I don't know. It didn't take off for me. It was a little bit sad. Yeah, see, Tempest, you understand me. One of the things I love about Fassbender, he's believable as just a messed up bad guy and a strong and caring father figure. Yes. Oh my God, those eyes. Oh my God, those eyes. Like, I'm sort of on a Michael Fassbender diet. I'm like, you can do it. You can do it. Just don't look at him on Instagram for a few days. Just don't. It's gonna feel better. It's gonna feel even more exciting if you guys do that. Okay, let's do some more drawing. Okay, more squinting. Oh, so much squinting, guys. I feel a little bit too reliant on this brown, and I'm a little bit mad at myself for that. Let me try this purple. This is a purple from the Terry Ludwig. Well, that's kind of nice. This one I think was too dark. I don't think I'm going to use that. Let me see if the... Ooh, that's really gray. I don't like that. Let's switch to the purple, because I think I'm spending too much time with the brown, because I need the... Ugh, it's not really dark enough, though. I don't know if I like that. Let's just spend a little time. I mean, this is where it kind of kills me to work from light to dark, because I just want to put down the black. It's a little painful for me, but that's my personal hang up. That has nothing to do with anything else. I think what I do need, though, is some articulation in the feet, because that is definitely not happening right now. I really want to show the shape of the feet. This, show the roundness of that bone. Make that a little bit more articulate. I want to give a shout out to Tom G for the super chat, who says, fun stream, really engaging and inspiring. Oh, I'm really happy to hear that. Tempest says, James McAvoy, you know what? I was not that into him. I mean, he's so nice in X-Men because he's like Charles Xavier, and he's really kind and caring. And I thought, oh, he's fine. But then, oh my God, you guys look this up. There's a video of the Graham Norton show. I guess it's a big thing in Britain. I mean, I don't know much about it. But anyway, oh, it was a video with Hugh Jackman, Michael Fassbender, oh my God, in one video. And James McAvoy was there too. And I was like, okay, that's fine. He's there. No problem. But he's so cute in real life. Like, he's got that hot Scottish accent, and he's so charming. Like, I actually liked him better in real life than I did in the movies, which is funny. That's usually not the case. Like, usually I like them more in the movie. I mean, this is not very nice, but I think it was Meryl Streep was on Stephen Colbert the other day. I watch a lot of Stephen Colbert. I find him hot too, but not in the same way. He's sort of like intellectually hot. I really like him a lot. Anyway, so there's this interview with Meryl Streep, and I'm sorry, it was so boring. I had to turn it off. I just was like, oh, I can't watch this. This is not interesting. And yeah, so I was like, wow, James McAvoy, you are awesome. Like, I totally would cast you if I met you in person. So yeah, I was very impressed. It's like, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Michael Fassbender was not very vocal in that interview. He was fine, but oh, Hugh Jackman is so cool in interviews. He just works it. Like, he just knows how to engage in real life. I mean, maybe that's from being on Broadway. Because I think probably, I don't know a lot about this, but I think probably people who have worked on the stage and have had to engage with a live audience, I'm sure it's a totally different skill set than if you are on a movie set. Things are probably a lot more controlled. I mean, on Broadway, you're doing it or you're not. And I did see Hugh Jackman on Broadway. He was in Boy from Oz. Oh my God, he was so good. He was amazing. I was not expecting any less than fireworks, but I was like blown away. Like that was honestly one of the most incredible live shows I've ever seen in my life. I mean, not like I'm a huge Broadway person, but yeah, that was like, oh my God. So yeah, I mean, like every time I've seen like a Hugh Jackman video on like Stephen Colbert or whatever, I'm like, dude, you know how to work an audience. He's just like some people just have it. I really think that is true. I worked with this actress and it's like, there's something about the way she entered the room. I was like, wow, you've got presence. I want to get looser. I don't like, I still feel a little bit tight. But the thing is, it could be that I'm just really trying to work the articulation right now. And so maybe that's the drawback of that, is me tightening up. So it could be that maybe I can loosen after I fix some of this stuff, because I'm losing some of the value and that's bothering me. So like, especially in here, it might almost be time to do some black in some select areas. Oh shoot, this is like way too low now. Oh man, I got to get rid of this. I'll just put it back. Might be able to put it back, we'll see. Get some more blue in here just to distinguish the ground. So this is an area at the bottom. You guys can see I'm intentionally keeping this pretty muddy. I know it doesn't look muddy on the screen, but it does. And I'll show you guys later in the Discord. You'll see how muddy it is. It's just, again, the webcam doesn't do great in terms of accurate color. And actually, in the background, there is a little bit of this, like, I don't know, ever since I did the hay for those chickens, I've been like really into that. And I feel like this drawing has some of that texture back there that I just want to throw in. Maybe down here I need a little gray. Yeah, that'll help. I'm just toning down this whole area, letting it get very muddy on purpose, because then the dog is going to stick out a lot better. More squinting. Like this arm really has to pop. So actually, let me get in here, maybe with this purple, this is Terry Ludwig purple, like that. Because I really want the anatomy to be better. And this is like a really, okay, I gotta shake this off. Starting to get a lot of stuff. Oh man, I'm covered. Who else is covered with pastel right now? It's like everywhere. This is really saturated, this burnt sienna up here. So let's just really dig in. Oh, and I've been ignoring the tail. The tail actually has pretty bright. I mean, I don't think I'm being that experimental with the colors. Let's see if I can build in, maybe some of this like periwinkle color. Oh, that's kind of nice. Sort of like that. Because actually a lot of this is pretty gray back here. And maybe some of these cool colors will help me out a little bit. Trying to find the brightest contrast, like definitely the tail, for sure. And actually, I did not have a chance to articulate that bottom foot, because the feet are very sharp. I really want them to be extremely articulate and really clear. So I'm pressing hard right now. It's not light at all. It's too much brown. That's really bugging me. Let's see what happens if I just bulk up some of the blue back here. I can feel myself relying on that, and I don't like that. That's annoying. And there's like a little touch of highlight up here. Everybody see this? It's actually really nice. Like you can almost see the edge of the sun like licking the edge of the dog. Yeah, that blue is definitely helping. I do want to rub it in a little bit more. I might want to do some like softer strokes because especially like the fur, and with the fur, I'm going to look at the direction of the strokes. Does everybody see how these strokes, they're tending to go that way? And then these strokes go across. So I think looking at the direction of the fur, very, very helpful. Oh, that's feeling better. Oh, yeah, I like that. But let's not use the white so much. I think some more yellow ochre action would be really nice. Yeah, that's what I needed. Definitely needed that. Oh, this purple makes me mad. It's just so... Oh, this one's better. The Terry Ludwig one is a lot better. All right. Yeah, that's what I need to do. I feel like my strokes were going too much in the same direction. And that's another thing to be conscious of is what direction are your strokes going in? And are they reflecting what the form is doing? So like here, I'm not pressing very hard right now. It gets pretty messy on this side, actually. The fur really sticks out a lot. And maybe some of this purple in here, because this sort of like divide that's underneath. And I'm exaggerating the value. This value is definitely not that dark, but it's helping me right now. It's helping me establish things. Okay, we got to do another dust out. Yeah, I'm noticing with the Terry Ludwig, it's like, oh man, I got to dust out like every 5 minutes. It's a little bit of a pain. I mean, right now, I really feel like I just want to use the Rembrandts because they're just a little bit better. When I want the strokes to be very visible and very clear. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I'm thinking about the direction of the strokes, like this leg back here is actually pretty visible. All right, it's starting to get fun now. You see, it takes a while. Like it's not something that happens fast. It's a lot of grunt work before you can remotely feel like anything, quote, fun is happening. I'm not saying it wasn't fun before, but I feel like I'm just now starting to get into it. And I'm really craving black right now. I'm trying really hard not to do it. It's hard. It's like, Clara, don't watch Jane Eyre. Although, I don't know, now I need to go through all the X-Men movies again. The old ones, not the Michael Fassbender ones. Those are taking a little break. Because I have not seen Wolverine for a while. And X-Men 2 is good. The one where they deal with Stryker. That's such a good one. I think I like that one better than the first movie, in fact. I mean, the first movie's great. It's not terrible, but I really, really like that second one. That's very blue. Everybody see how blue that is? In the photo, I'm not just, I mean, I am over-exaggerating, but it's very blue in the photo. It's surprising how blue it is. You don't usually get to see that. Okay, more squinting. Trying to get the form of that to go. This is really blue. Everybody see that? I mean, in the photo, it looks blue. I'm not just making this up. This is absolutely happening. Okay, let's see what people are saying in the chat. Feeling says, I don't know how to make marks. Too scared to mess it up. Mess it up. Do it. Give yourself what I like to call a sacrifice drawing. You say, I'm going to sacrifice this. I don't care what's going to happen. So much of it is people feeling when they draw that they're walking on eggshells. I don't think that if you draw like that, you have the potential to get those types of results. So that is very, very helpful. B4D, bad taste. How do you manage that way to flow with the color? It's layering and layering and layering. Does everybody notice I have not smudged one thing this whole time? It's just one color on top of another. It's just layering. I mean, I'm a big layer person. In case you haven't noticed yet, I layer with paints. I am not an alla prima painter. Yeah, that's really the key. Kofia says, I really love this channel. I don't have access to art classes, so this channel has been so helpful. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That's why we're free. Not everybody can pay money for an art class. Even, let's just say, a continuing education class, which is not $70,000 a year in the US, like art school. Even that is not possible for a lot of people. And so that's why I've been adamant. We have to stay free. It's a pain in the butt business-wise, and it's not easy, but it has to stay that way for me. Tai Nguyen says, why do we call pastel drawing, but not pastel painting? There are lots of arguments about that. I think some people do think about pastels as painting, but it really, really depends on the person. I mean, in the fine arts world, they used to have this show in Boston at the Boston Center for the Arts, and it was called The Drawing Show. They'd have it every single year. And you go to that show, you would not see traditional drawing. There'd always be a video, there'd always be some found art, and people would interpret it as drawing. And people are constantly defining things. Oh, I love this comment from Marinka. If you mess it up, then you have learned something. Exactly. You guys cannot see any time you spend making art as, quote, wasted time. It is not. Like, if you guys go for a jog, okay, and you don't set a new world record, is that wasted time? Is exercise, even if you don't knock it out of the park, even if you don't slam dunk at the basketball game, is that wasted time? It is not. You don't hear people say, oh, well, I went for a run and I got some exercise today. Oh, what a waste of time. I did not break a world record. This is the same thing, you guys, okay? So don't tell yourself that it's wasted time. Ace Archer says, love your streams. I have trouble transitioning between warm and cool tones. I think what I would recommend in that case is just move around the page more. Don't let yourself stay in one area for too long, because I think what ends up happening is the colors start to isolate and then they pull away from other colors. So I find the jumping around, developing the whole drawing all at the same time, really, really helpful. Oh, I like this comment from Aimer, who says, I use the same reference. It's really interesting to see the different interpretations of the same photo. We should hang out with us in the Discord, because I love seeing all the different interpretations using the same reference photo. It's really, really fun. I want to give a shout out to 10,000 Crows. Thank you so much for the super chat. We greatly appreciate anything you guys can contribute. Okay, let's do some more. I think I might be ready to start blocking in some blacks because I'm really needing them. Let me do a little bit more with my yellow ochre. I mean, honestly, a lot of these drawings in the streams, I really could just keep going, but I don't know, that stomach thing gets in the way. And I'm such a foodie. I had grilled cheese yesterday. It was so good. Oh my God. A good grilled cheese sandwich. There's nothing like it. So simple and so good. Because what I'm lacking right now is value. The value is not there yet. And that's bugging me a little. I think this is not white enough. Can I fix that? See if I can just draw over it. Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing also about these pastels. You can just draw over it. I mean, you can't like erase it. That's not going to happen. But you can definitely make things a lot different than what they were before. I want to give a shout out to Anna, who says, this motivates me to do my hobby. Please stay free. We're going to stay free as long as we exist. I'm not trying to freak anybody out, but I would rather shut it down than charge a paywall. I don't want to do that. It's just different. Community's different. I mean, I was watching a channel the other day, and I sort of thought that it was going to be an anatomy video, but instead it was like an advertisement for their course. And that was just such a big turnoff, because I was like, why am I watching this then? I don't want to pay for this course. It was sort of a bummer. I mean, that's fine. I get it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with charging for your content, because people should, some people really rely on it, and you have to do that. So I'm not trying to say, oh, nobody should charge, because this is not a good business model. It's not a great way to sustain yourself financially. But I'm just saying that for me, it's just such a big difference, and that's why it's important to me. Not important to everybody else. People become YouTubers or they become teachers for very, very different reasons. It's all depending on your personal situation and what's important to you. I guess for me, it's just that I was in academia for so long, and just so much of it just felt unfair. It just, I don't know. I guess because I noticed that the population of students at RISD over the years was becoming more and more elite financially. And I didn't like that. It's different now. And I suspect, I mean, it's got to be because the tuition is just so high now. Just nobody can afford it. I mean, I do think higher education is having a crisis moment. They're having a total identity crisis right now. And it will be very interesting to see what happens in the next few years. I mean, when the pandemic, when we get back to quote normal, what's going to happen there? I mean, I do think there's a newfound respect for teaching online that was not there forever and ever. I mean, oh guys, I got so much crap for wanting to teach online. You have no idea. I mean, that's why I hid it from my colleagues at RISD. I just didn't want anybody to know I was doing it, because I knew they were going to crap all over me if they knew. So it was secret. But everything changed with the pandemic. Things are different now, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of teachers were long overdue. I definitely had teachers who said to me, oh, I've always wanted to do this. I just never had a chance, which I get. I mean, teachers are busy people. It's low pay for a ton of work, and work that you need a lot of education for. So I understand why that might not have been high on their priority list, but it's like, it's kind of embarrassing how behind they are. Because I watch some people on YouTube who have helped me so much in terms of getting the right technology and the right software. And it's like, they're light years ahead of what people in academia are doing. I mean, people in academia, everybody's stuck on Zoom right now. And I'm like, why? What's so great about Zoom? Is it really that great, guys? And I don't know. I think maybe it's just that people are so used to it and they don't want to be bothered to learn something else, which I understand. I mean, it's a lot of work. But I'm like, yeah, if you spend a few hours learning this one thing, your life might actually be a lot easier. And having a long-term solution as opposed to a short-term Band-Aid, a pretty big difference, in my opinion. All right, I think it might be time to whip out the black. Oh, thank God. I love black, and it just kills me to not use it. We have a question from Karen, who says, so what are you doing on the Tuesday stream? So that stream, if you guys heard me talk about before, that is going to be a fundraiser. It's our raffle. And it's a 4-hour-long stream, and we're going to do a bunch of things. We are gathering some questions in advance from people that are targeted towards specific staff members. So if you guys have those, you can put them in the Discord. You can comment on this video, and I'm happy to take a look at those. And they don't have to be art related. So they can be anything related. It's up to you guys. Whatever you guys want to ask us. And we'll have an update on what the Art Prof staff is doing in the studio. because we oftentimes don't get to show you guys what we're doing in the studio because we're busy talking about other things in the streams. But we'll show you guys some of our current projects, what's going on. We'll answer those questions. And you guys are going to like this. We're each going to do on the stream a special talent. Everybody has a special talent on the staff that is not art related. So you guys are going to have to stick around for that because we're not going to tell you what the talents are. You're just going to have to wait and see. I have a special talent, and I'm going to tell you what it is. You're just going to have to come to the stream and find out. I want to give a shout out to Ace Archer, who says, "You inspire me to keep pursuing art. Your passion and fun teaching helps so much. Thanks for providing art class to those of us who can't take classes." Well, thank you so much for your support, Ace Archer. We really, really appreciate that. Okay, I'm getting a little black pastel happy, so I'm going to try to not overdo it, but it's going to be hard because I like black a lot. Black is like a it's like a nuclear bomb in your drawing. You can't overuse it. It'll just destroy everything. So I'm trying to hold back a little bit because I don't want to. Oh, yeah. That's what it is. Seven Angelic is our Prof talent show. That's what it is. We're all going to do something. And there's a broad range. Mareka says, our Prof raffle will be during Europe's nighttime. Yeah. Is there a way for us to contribute outside the stream? Yeah. I mean, you guys have until January 30th to contribute. So you don't have to watch the live stream. The live stream is just for fun, just to announce it and tell you guys what's going on. But as far as contributing, you can do that anytime. And we'll have information. We'll have a raffle page that you guys can look at. But basically, you can either become a Patreon supporter, which is a monthly pledge, or you can do a one-time donation on PayPal. But we also have an option to submit for free for the raffle because we have prizes. So you can submit for free for sure. And the way you're going to do that is if you go onto the raffle video, which will be available on Tuesday, and you just comment. You have to tell us, though, what you learned. I'm sorry. It's the educational part of me needs to know what you've learned from us. So you have to do that, and then you just tell us that you want to enter, and you can enter for free. So you don't have to make a donation. I mean, we'd rather you made a donation, but it's up to you guys. You can enter for free. That's fine. Oh, that is really satisfying to put in the black. Oh, I'm so much happier now. Nice. Yeah, I like just pulling out some of these strokes. It's really satisfying. Nice. Maybe a little more in this background. I want to put in some more like rigorous strokes. I just love those like Mary Cassatt marks. They're like so awesome. I don't want to do too much. Maybe a little more brown up here. I mean, I could keep going. I always could keep going. It's not difficult for me to do that. Maybe in here I need to bulk up some of the shadow. I feel like I lost some of the value in that area towards the bottom. And I'm just going to blend in some of the blacks. I don't want the black to be that visible. It's a little bit much. The collar for sure. Oh, and I guess this little pocket too. Okay, this definitely. I'm pressing hard right now. I'm not holding back because I know that it's just time. It's time to get the black in there. There, it's a little bit better. The snout definitely needs more. Oh, and you know something else? There's also these highlights that are on the collar and a little bit of this orangey color in there too. So that gives the color. All right, let's do some squinting, guys. And I need to give the tail a little bit more strokes. I feel like it doesn't have the texture that I want it to have. Let's try that. What color? Maybe I need this, like, I guess this is sort of like lavender. That's kind of a nice color. It's very, very, very muted. Kind of like that. It's helping me a little bit in the leg. I think, I'm doing some more squinting. We're getting there, guys. I'm just doing like another pass with these darker shades. Yeah, like this, I think those are the ribs of the dog. Let's do a little bit more in the background. I definitely think, at the very least, I just want to show like the mess that's down here. So let's just block in some quick strokes to show that some more. Because I just want to ground the dog. I don't want it to feel like it's just floating in space. Maybe a couple patches of white, because there are these forms in the background going like that. All right, let's see what people are saying in the chat. Karen is asking, how can we donate apart from a super chat? You can pledge monthly on Patreon. And actually, in the video description below, we do have a link if you want to make a one-time donation on PayPal. So, yeah. Someone angelic says, I want someone to do archery, shoot an apple or something. We're not going to do that. But yeah. Sorry, Orange Cat Spirit. There's not going to be a dance off. We'll do that if we hit 1 million subscribers. Okay, we got to get that first. Cool. All right, guys, join me in the Art Prof Discord. I will be hanging out in the Art Alongs channel. Please show me what you guys drew. Subscribe to the Art Prof YouTube channel so you can continue to grow and develop as an artist. And thank you so much to our top Patreon supporters who give us the resources that we need to keep Art Prof available and accessible to everybody who wants to learn and grow as an artist. Everybody, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.